Welcome back to Road to Fire. We're a family of four documenting our journey to FIRE, financial independence, retire early. Let's chat about 5 common 401k mistakes. I will share details on our current 401k balances, how we stack up within our age group, mistakes we made along the way, and how we manage our accounts today with all real numbers like always, so please hang with me. So I've worked for 8 companies in the last 14 years. So yes, I've had my fair share of 401ks and made several mistakes. Most of my career transitions were personal, but yes, it did help me increase my income over time. But my first job right out of college was working as a parking manager for a parking ramp downtown. It was the thick of the Great Recession and no one wanted to hire anyone with a financial background. And I made a whopping $32,000. Best part, I was parking the cars for all of my friends who had gotten a job out of school and worked at one of these big companies downtown. But luckily, within 6 months, I landed my first quote-unquote big girl job at a Fortune 100 company that changed my life. When I got my first job, I had no idea what a 401k was. I believe, and my memory isn't the best, but I believe we were automatically signed up into our 401k plans. I'm not sure at what percentage, but I remember having one. I remember setting it up and forgetting it, and I remember choosing a target date fund to put my money in. So like 2055 or something. The crazy thing is that's not too far now. But I made every mistake possible when it came to investing in a 401k. I was 20 and I didn't come from a family that talks about money, let alone investing. But I still attended the HR orientation meetings at every job I worked at. I just never prioritized my 401k until later in my career. I wish I would have known the ins and outs of a 401k when I started working straight out of school. Or I wish I would have valued the importance of investing any amount into a 401k. But what I didn't know, that many millionaires today are 401k millionaires. They manage, invest, and consistently up their contributions over time and leverage the power of compound interest with their company contributions. Although a pension will always be king when it comes to employee retirement accounts, a 401k can be very beneficial, especially for building long-term wealth if you plan to work for your company or someone else for the long run. So according to Vanguard via Nordwallet, here are the average 401k balances by age. And this time, they included the under 25 age group. Like always, let's focus on the median as the average will always be skewed based on a few outliers on both ends. Okay, for those under 25, the median 401k balance is just under $2,000. For those 25 to 34, it's about $11,000. And for those 35 to 44, my age group, it's a bit over $28,000. And the high earning years of 45 to 54, the median 401k balance is just over $48,000. For those who are 55 to 64, they have a balance of about $71K. And for those that are 65 and older, it drops slightly to about $70,000. So I'm behind for our age group, as my current 401k balance is just over $20,000. One thing this data doesn't take into effect is tenure at a company. If you've only been at a company for a few months, then of course your balance will be tracking lower than expected, which is what happened to me. I started this new job back in June of last year, and for almost 6 months, I could not invest into the company's 401k plan due to their policies. Now, I didn't read the fine print, but would have still accepted the offer as I love what I do. I was still able to hit the 401k max in 2023, but our budget was definitely upside down in Q4 of last year. So year to date, I have contributed about $7,500 to my 401k and have a 10.7% return. Now I'm right on track to max out our 401k this year as payday is later this week, and so I'll be about that $9,000 mark by the end of the month. But here are the most common 401k mistakes I've seen and personally experienced. Okay, number 1 401k mistake is not hitting the company match. A company provides a 401k match as a hiring benefit at a cost to them. In most companies, nothing is more expensive than an employee, and this includes the total compensation package. On average, an employee contribution is around 4.5%, with the median being closer to 4%. Today, my company's match is 3%, and I've had companies match up to 5%. But I haven't always hit the company match because I either needed a bigger take-home pay or didn't understand how it worked. I was missing out on free money and not leveraging my total compensation package. But how does company match really work? It's actually pretty simple. Let's say your company offered a partial match or 50% match up to 6%. If you earned an even $100,000 a year and you contribute the full 6% or $6,000, your company would match or contribute half of that or $3,000. That is $3,000 on top of your contribution, making it a total of $9,000 put into your 401k each year. Now, I haven't seen a partial match in a long time, but right now I have a full match, which is very similar. Say this time your company will match 100% what you contribute up to 6%. You make $100K again for easy math, and you contribute the full 6%. Your company will contribute the same amount, so $6,000 on top of the $6,000 you contributed, making it a total of $12,000 going into your 401k each year. So not hitting the company match is a disservice to you and your future self. This additional contribution will propel the effects of compound interest and help you reach your long-term financial goals quicker. Now, I wish I had taken advantage of this at my first job. I missed out on thousands of free dollars. Now I have made it a habit to not only hit the company match, but max out our 401ks annually. Okay, so this one hit me hard. Number 2 is not knowing the vesting period for your 401k plan. Vesting is the time an employee must work for an employer in order to own outright employee stock options, shares of a company stock, or employer contributions to a tax-advantaged retirement plan like a 401k. In short, it's how long you need to stay with your company to own your entire 401k, including your employer's contributions. This is all about reading the fine print of your offer and asking HR the right questions during the hiring process. Now, most of my jobs were vested in day one, but there were 2 instances where I didn't stay long enough in a company to become 100% vested. The first time, I spent about 18 months or a little bit over at this company and knew this wasn't the right fit for me. I found a new job right before my 2-year mark, almost 2 months before my 2-year mark, and lost a sizable amount of my 401k because it was not 100% vested. Today, I still regret this move. I didn't know the full details of my 401k plan and I missed out on essentially free money. Yes, I was able to get a new job at a higher salary, but it could have came with a full 401k, not partial. The second time, I forfeited my stock options and decided to take a job that would take me back home. At the time, I was not in the best place both spiritually and mentally, and I needed to surround myself by family and friends. And no, I don't regret this change at all. Take the time to read all the details on your 401k plan, especially the vesting details. Most 401k plans have it essentially outlined on their platform, or hop on a quick call with HR to get the details. Now, I don't regret job hopping over the years, but I do regret not managing my 401k better over each job. I messed up with vesting, and I know it costs us a lot, and sometimes, just sometimes, I think about the stock options I left on the table when moving back home. I'm even embarrassed to share the amount, as I know others would have not made the same decision I made. But I have to say, if I didn't make the jumps, shifts, or transitions that I made over the years, then I would not be where I am today. Of course, I could have been farther, but I also could not have. I have to appreciate the journey and the mistakes as learning opportunities, and that's how I'm going to see it. But my 401k was the first step into investing for me. I don't know why, but most people don't see 401ks as an investment tool. And maybe because it's not the most sexiest financial vehicle out there, but many millionaires today leverage their 401k to help build them long-term wealth. Although this path may not be the fastest, there are many different ways to leverage this account, especially when pursuing FIRE. The great thing about a 401k is that it takes your contributions out before it hits your account. Early in my career, I struggled with how much is enough, as I always, and I still do, love a good net pay hitting my account. But the benefits of contributing to my 401k over time has paid off, and I'm finally seeing it in our investing account. Okay, the third common 401k mistake is not knowing your investments. And this was something I did not fully grasp until years after my first job. And most of my 401ks, alongside with my husband, I opted for the target date fund. I'm not 100% sure, but I felt that was the default for most of the companies I worked at. You plugged in your age and it shot out a fund that fits you the best. Nothing wrong with target date funds. This is definitely a need for it and a place for them. But because we desire to retire early or at least become financially independent early, this wasn't the right path for us. But if I had to guess, I would say we had our investments in target date funds for almost 6 or 7 years during one of the greatest stock market runs of my life. Now, I don't even want to calculate the potential losses we incur just by not knowing our 401k investments. Today, there are several options available, but here are the ones my employer has. Of course, there are target date funds, value funds, growth funds, conservative funds, balanced funds, and even specialized funds that include emerging or international markets. I did what I knew was best, and I chose the Fidelity S&P 500 index, as a VTSAX equivalent wasn't available at my company. We now have a growth fund that better fits our financial journey and goals. But take the time to rebalance, reevaluate, or at least look at your investments annually. I try to do it during enrollment time in October, and that's been our habit moving forward. Okay, mistake number 4, taking an early withdrawal. Finally, a common mistake I have not done. I know that when times get hard for us, I never even consider taking out money or withdrawing from any of our funds, especially our 401k. This wasn't even an option for us because taking an early withdrawal against your 401k comes with a triple effect. First, you will receive a 10% penalty if you're withdrawing before the age of 59 and a half. There are other ways to access these funds earlier, but withdrawal isn't it. Secondly, you'll have to pay income taxes on the distributions on top of the 10% fee. But the last impact, which is the hardest to quantify, is time. You will miss out on time in the market to leverage the beauty of compound interest on your investments. Out of all the mistakes outlined, I feel that taking an early withdrawal has the highest negative financial implications than the others, in my humble, non-financial advisor, #disclaimer, opinion. Unfortunately, I know so many people who have taken this route and are now struggling to build back up their retirement as they age. Talk to an advisor before taking this step because there are definitely a lot of financial implications tied to it. Okay, the final common 401k mistake I've seen or experienced is not rolling over your old 401ks. When you leave a company, leave with everything. Keeping your old 401ks with your old employer may result in additional fees or even penalties, especially if you are given a hard stop date to make the change. Whenever I leave a company, I ask for a check that is written out to Vanguard. They send it all over to my house, I endorse it, and Vanguard deposit it into an appropriate account. Now, it usually goes into my IRA, but if I have a Roth 401k, I'll roll it over into my old Roth. I feel a sense of peace once all of my funds are in one place. But here are the 3 top key benefits for making this a habit whenever you leave a company. Number 1, you have more control of your assets. I'm able to see all my assets in a consolidated format. I have access to the most up-to-date information and overall more control on how I manage my investments. This leads to number 2, more investment options. A traditional 401k has limited investment options, but once you roll it over to a brokerage account, you now have access to more investment options that will align better with your short and long-term financial goals. Many times when I'm looking for investment options in my 401k plans, I really struggle to find a comparable index fund to VTSAX. But by moving my funds over, I get to choose the fund I love with no issues at all. Investing in low-cost index fund is and will always be our strategy for the long haul. But sometimes the 401k plans have higher fees associated with their investments. So once we leave a company, getting the low-cost option is always a priority. But rolling over a 401k from an old job might not be for everyone. There are scenarios where staying might make the most sense. But for me, it never did, and I'm glad I made the shift. Now, I doubt I'll be a 401k millionaire. I love my current job, and I hope I'm there until I reach FIRE, but I don't see myself working in the corporate grind for more than 8 years tops. Maybe I won't be a 401k millionaire, maybe I'll be a solo 401k millionaire or a 403b millionaire, but who knows? But I've read that those with over $1 million in their 401k has soared by over 20% in 2023. That's amazing. But to be able to get that high invested in your 401k, there has to be 2 key reasons. 1, you've stayed with the company for a very long time and built wealth over time. Or 2, your company has done amazingly well in the last several years and you're able to benefit from it through stock options or buybacks at a discount. I remember when I worked for a large CPG company, they would have stock buyback days where employees could buy the stock at a discount. I didn't appreciate this because, well, I didn't really believe in the company's plan, and I'm glad I didn't as they're not doing too hot right now. But also because I didn't want to be heavily weighted into one company or an individual stock. I needed diversification, so we shifted to index funds and aren't looking back. Let me know in the comments below, is all of your wealth currently in your 401k or is it spread out across different accounts? Now, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. Until next time.